Okay, welcome back. My name is Legendary Boss 247. So, in this tutorial, we want to look at this neckline, right? I'm going to post the picture so you can see clearly, right? It's a round neckline. Now, how to go about this? Now, first of all, you need a stretchy fabric for something like this. So, we have here just about exact fabric. The exact fabric we have on this style here is what I have here. This is a scuba, is thick and stretchy. So this is what we have here, thick and stretchy, right? Now I'm not going to be making the entire style. I'm just going to do a simple sample for the neck area, right? So you go ahead and do your stuff the way you want it, right? So if you've taken your measurements, go over to your fabric. You want to cut out your bodies. So I'm just going to be using a very small sample for this, very small sample. So we have, let's assume I folded my fabric, and then we want to cut. First of all, I want to make my shoulder line straight. Right, so let's assume we have a shoulder of 14, which is going to be 7. Now I am not adding sewing allowance to this because the fabric is stretchy, right? So it's supposed to be 7.5 when cutting directly on your fabric for a shoulder of 14, but I'm making it 7 because this fabric is stretchy, right? So we have that like this, and then we have the shoulder slope by 1 inch starting from at about 2.5 in this case, because it's a small shoulder. It's a shoulder of 14. For an adult, you can begin your shoulder slope from 3 inches. They're about 3 inches, 3.5, right? So let's assume we have an armhole depth here also of 7. Your armhole depth is simply your shoulder divided by 2, and let's say you have measured down the length of your top, right? For this one, I'm just going to be using 16 because, of course, it's just an illustration, right? So we have that, and whatever is left here, I want to use as my chest measurement, right? So we have that like that, and then you go ahead to slope your shoulder, and then, of course, make your armhole curve. For the front, I'm going in by 1 inch, right? So we have this. Now, I'm just doing this roughly because the attention is not on the bodies or whatsoever. It's just about the neckline, right? So we have this is my side seam, right? No measurements particularly, right? So we want to have this, and then you use this to cut the back. Again, you fold the same way, and then you place this on it like this, and it's quite simple to make. Now you want to cut everything exact except for the across front, right? So we'll have the same shoulder slope, but here we went in by 1 inch. For the back, we are going to go in by ½ inch. So the back is going to be ½ inch wider at the armhole area. Now for the length, we have the same length, side seam, the same side seam, right? Just the armhole here, I want to add ½ inch for that of the back because the front armhole is deeper than the back one. So we have this like this. Now we want to cut our neckline, right? So for your neckline, you want to go ahead and mark out your neck width. Now in this case, from what we have here, we want to go for an adult, you can go for 3.5 inches wide, right? But this is just a small bodies I'm making here, so I want to go for 3, right? 3 inches. And then front depth for an adult, what we have here, they went down for at about up to 4.5 inches, right? That's for an adult. But for this, I want to go for 4 inches, right? So I have 3 by 4. This is for the front. 3 by 4, 3 by 4. Now I'm making just a small sample, 3 by 4. For an adult, I said you can go for 3.5 by 5 or 4.5, right? That will be fine, right? Then for the back, It's the same width but different depth. So for the depth of the back, you can just go down by 0.75. So we are going to first of all cut the front and back together using the back neck depth, which is 0.75, and the width here, which is 3, like this. So both of them cut together, right? Then you can now remove the back. The back is the one underneath, so you don't want to cut the back again with the front. So I want to cut my front neckline now, right? So now we have our front and back neckline, right? So we are just going to go ahead and join them on the shoulder, right? We'll be right back. Okay, so at this point I have joined the shoulder seam using my 1/2 inch seam allowance, right? You can see the nice neckline we have now, right? So at this point, of course, you can go ahead and impute your bust darts and make your join your side seam. You can see our armhole. You see that the front is deeper a little bit than the back, right? So that is what you want for the across front, right? At this point, you can go ahead and fix your bust darts and join your side seam, right? But then we are not paying much attention to that at this point, right? So you want to now go ahead and check if this neckline will pass through the person's head, right? So you want to check this out. If you're making for an adult and you're an adult, you can try this over your head. If you're making for a kid, you can try someone close to that range to see if this will go through. Or if you have their neck measurement, their head, round head measurement, you can try to see if this will go through. But if you use the measurement I gave you for adults, that should pass through most adults' head, right? So if you have done that and you see that you're good, this neck is fine, it's going to work for your client, you go ahead and measure it. Now I'm measuring it while it is folded into 2. So whatever we have here, we are going to multiply by 2, right? So I measure this way. What we have here right now is 9.5. So that gives us 19, right? Now in cutting the collar, to cut your collar, you want to again cut it following the stretch of the fabric, right? So in this way, I'm going to be cutting it like this. Now you choose the height of the collar you want, multiply it by 2 and add 1 inch. Now the 1 inch is for your sewing allowance, right? So if we want the height of this collar to end at 1.5 inches, multiply by 2 gives us 3, plus 1 inch gives us 4, right? So we want to cut this to be 4 inches wide. Now remember, we measured the round neck to be 19, but you are not going to be cutting up to 19. You're going to reduce it because we are going to stretch the collar while fixing it, right? So let's go ahead and mark out 4 yet. This is 4, and then for now, let me just cut this 9 inches or 8.5, whichever. We don't need up to that. I'm still going to reduce it. So I'm cutting out 8.5 by 4 on a fold. Remember, this is on a fold, so that 8.5 actually gives us 17. So right now I am cutting 2 inches less than the neck circumference. I know I'm still going to reduce it because this fabric stretches, right? So you want to now go ahead and see if you stretch, if this is going to give you 19. Now it gave me 19 without much stress, right? So I'm going to reduce this because I want to stress it a little bit, right? So let's try out a measurement of 15. Now 15 is 7.5. Now let me stretch if it's going to give me 19. So this does not have any particular measurement. It depends on how stretchy your fabric is. Now you can see this is at 7.5. So I want to hold this there and stretch if I'm going to get 19. Yes, I think I can get 19 now, and I love the amount of stretch I would need to stretch to get my 19, right? So that is how you just do it. Now this is 15. So when I stretch this much, I'll get 19, and that is fine. So we are cutting at 15. Make sure you add your sewing allowance, right? So 15 is 7.5 plus 1 inch now gives us 8, right? So we are cutting this at 8. We are going to sew using half inch, right? So I'll be right back. I need to join this here using half inch. Okay, so here we are, and I have joined here, right? So we are left with our 7.5, right? So at this point you can go ahead and press this, iron it down flat, then you can fold over. Now remember, we cut this 4 inches, so after folding you're going to be left with 2 inches, right? And then when you sew half inch to the shirt, the top you're making, you're going to get 1.5 left. That is the calculation I gave you for your collar height, right? So with this, you go ahead and start to sew from here. Let's see, you're sewing here, this is right side, you're going to place it right side to right side. Now you want this joint to begin from one shoulder seam here, right? It's not at the front, it's not at the center back, it's going to be around one shoulder seam. You can try to push it behind the shoulder seam slightly so that we cannot see it from the front and it's not obviously at the center back, right? So I'm going to push it a little bit behind the shoulder seam, so we want to have here. Now you remember how much we pulled this to get 19? You remember how? That is how much you're going to be pulling it while sewing. Remember, this neck band here, the collar is smaller than the neck circumference. This is 15, this is 19, so you are going to pull slightly. Again, if you don't remember how much you pulled, you can hold your tape now, right, and check to know how much you need to pull this to get 19. So that is how much you're going to pull it while sewing, right? So let's move over to our sewing machine. Okay, so here we are, and this is our neckband here, right? The collar, whichever way you want to call it, right? So again, this is my back neck, and I'm going to place it here. Make sure I open my shoulder seam, depends on how you overlocked it. I want to place it a little bit behind, right? Slightly behind. Now I prefer to go this way, right? So we are starting this slightly behind my shoulder seam there, and I remember how much I stretched. I pulled out to get 19, so that is what I'm going to be doing while sewing this to the shirt, right, to the neck. So you don't want to pull too much and you don't want to leave it relaxed, right? And you want to make sure you pull evenly. You don't stretch one side, you don't stretch the back so much, and you don't stretch the front. No, it's not going to come out nice, right? So you go this way. So there is no actual calculation on how much you are to make the band smaller than the neck. It depends on how stretchy your fabric is. Your fabric might be more stretchy than mine, so you should just follow the way I showed you with your tape, right? So if you follow it properly, you're going to get this. So while you're sewing, you want to make sure you are not pulling on the actual neck, but just the neckband, the collar, right? So I'm almost done. Okay, so at the end there, you want to give it a nice back stitch, right? So this is going to give us something like this. You see it, right? Now, so I'm going to put this on a dress form for us to see. You can go ahead and press this neat and nice and neat, right? Now this is still rough. This is right. So it's going to give us something like this, and then you go ahead and overlock your joint. Of course, you know that the seam allowance. So go ahead and overlock that. Let's try this on a dress form for us to see. Okay, so here we are, and this is the end result, right? This is without ironing yet, and remember, this is for a small size. My dress form is actually an adult size, right? So that is why the neck is small, right? Remember, we made this a small size, shoulder 14. My dress form is actually shoulder 15 and a bust of 36 thereabout, right? So this is for a small size. But that is how to go about this neckline. Go ahead and try it out. Thanks for watching. My name is Legendary.